What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to the Morning View, a solo and stream this morning. And we've got a fresh update doing the rounds when it comes to injuries and Matthijs de Ligt. A new report says de Ligt has his sights set on returning next month, so March, after close to 3 months out with a lower back issue that initially was described as nothing too serious. Well, it turned into something serious, didn't it? 3 months of seriousness. Now, the timing is huge. Manchester United, 4th in the Premier League, 45 points. But that top 4 race, that top 5 race for those Champions League spots, it's on a knife edge, to say the very least. Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at this one, isn't there? One side says when de Ligt is ready, you bring him straight back in. You add experience, you add control, you raise the level for big away games. He's played well this season. But the other side says, look, back injuries, they're awkward. He's been out of action for 3 months. Don't rush it, particularly someone who is injury prone like de Ligt. And also, you don't break what has been working under Michael Carrick, unbeaten in 5 since he took over. Yes, the last performance against West Ham wasn't great, but that late Benjamin Šeško equaliser kept the unbeaten streak going. And the next test is massive. Everton away, Monday, 8 p.m. kickoff. United's first visit to the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton haven't won a home game, though, since the 6th of December. So there's a chance, but also a trap if you take it lightly, as we saw in that game against West Ham. Now, there are other people coming back from injury. We know that de Ligt isn't going to be back for that one. Mason Mount edging closer. Patrick Dorgu, still more of a weight. But the bigger question surrounding Manchester United right now is Carrick. Is this run proof of if he should get the job long term, or is the club right to stay cautious? So drop your thoughts in the chat. If de Ligt is back in March, does he start immediately? Who partners him? Is it a Leacher thing? Is it somebody else? Can you drop out Maguire, who now possibly is injured too? In the interim, before both of them are back, who goes in? And what's your score prediction for Everton away? Do you think Carrick is earning the job, yes or no? There's plenty to get into this morning. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View if indeed you are new. And when we're talking about fitness, we're talking about health, folks. We're talking about health. We're talking about getting back to your best. If only there was a way that you could get back to your best without having to go through all the stuff that Matthijs de Ligt's gone through. I'm thinking of my favorite letter again. I'm thinking of the word O, not just because it's my name, because also Optimum. Yeah, Optimum. That sounds about right. Roll VT.
Today's video is sponsored by our friends at Oxford Natural and their all-new natural supplement, Optimum Day and Night. Thousands across the UK, USA and beyond are smashing their health goals with Oxford Natural. Optimum Day gives you steady energy, curbs your cravings and keeps your metabolism firing all day. Optimum Night helps you relax, get restorative sleep, recover and keep burning fat while you rest. It's not a magic pill, but it will help you reach your health goals. Check out some of the incredible results. 2 of our own. Owen lost over 100 pounds in 10 months. And KG dropped 30 pounds in 4 months. In 8 months, football legend Michael Owen lost 35 pounds. And Robbie from AFTV, Don Robbie, lost over 80 pounds. And in 6 months, Anita, an award-winning immigration lawyer, lost 44 pounds. And Linda, a law firm executive, lost over 50 pounds. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural, let's get to work.
Yes, indeed. Let's get to work. You can scan that QR code right there, and subscribe there, and save up to 70% off your first order using the code UV. You can get your Optimum Day, which is good for your weight loss goals. You can get your Optimum Night, which is good for that restorative sleep, which is very, very important. Got to get your, is it 50 winks? Whatever it is. Yeah, you can scan that QR code. You can get your Optimum Day or your Optimum Night, or both of them. Stack them any which way you please. As always, all the information, all the details are in the video description below. Or if you click the link, you get taken to the landing page where you can see the case studies. You can see everything that you need to know, and you can get optimized today. Yes, say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Optimized. Optimized. Yes, indeed. How are we all doing this morning? Let's have a look in the chat. Let's see where people are at. Let's see how people are feeling. Let me know where you're watching from, what the weather is like, what the time is where you are as well. I can see Jonathan's in there, says big up UV fam. Nikhil says, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. If you're new, join the UV community. Yes, indeed. People having their takes on Matthijs already. Matt says, bring him back slowly, like we did Leacher. Super Arch says, slowly bring him back in. No need to rush him back into injury again. Morning to yourself. All Elite says, morning, family. I don't know why, but I just watched a comp of Onana mistakes that came up on my feed. God, we've been going through some tough times, haven't we? Why do you do it to yourself? All Elite. Or as the TTS would say, all alight. TTS is on this morning, by the way, and you can get involved. It's a solo and show, so you know what that means. It's going to be open. The show can go in any different direction you want it to go in. Get your super chats in. We'll answer questions. We'll spark some debates, etc., etc., etc. Yes, but I don't know why you would do that to yourself, All Elite. That's just, yeah, you're a glutton for punishment. You know, I like you saw the clip. Flex and myself spoke about it yesterday of Onana's recent performance in Turkey, and yeah, it wasn't great. There was some not so great flashbacks, but sometimes it's not too bad to look back, you know, and like you say right there, know where you've come from. You know, it's always good to look at your growth. It's always good to look at your growth and, you know, where you were, where you are now. Take stock of your surroundings. Yes. Big up to Angelo, watching from Uganda. Good morning to you. Appreciate you joining me. That's why I know that sometimes, you know, you get those negative people in the chat or in the comments will go, why'd you say where you're from and what the weather's like and what the time is? Just get on with the show. I do it every single time because we've got such a global community here at United View. Like, I'm from Uganda. I'm pretty sure we'll probably have in the chat someone watching from all of the continents, you know, most likely, right? You get the people in, you know, North America, so in the United States, whoever, getting up at silly o'clock to watch this show or watch the Man United matches. You got people in Australia watching as well. You got people in Africa, Asia, sound like Don Robbie, South America, Antarctica, the Milky Way. You know, so that's why I always ask it. But yes, we do have some injury updates to get to, namely Matthijs de Ligt. We've got to talk about de Ligt and his return and recovery from this back injury that was initially said to be nothing too serious, a bit of a minor thing. And as I said in the intro, we haven't seen him for like 3 months, is it? It's been a really long time. Now, Carrick had said there had been setbacks, but he was recovering. He was, you know, on the road back to fitness. And a story coming out yesterday saying that de Ligt is from the Sun. Gross. De Ligt has his sights set on a return to action next month, hoping to boost Michael Carrick's decisive push to secure Champions League next season. Well-play sources suggest that de Ligt has not hit the panic button, even though his long-term injury could jeopardize his place at the World Cup this summer. Well, that's probably why he's being so cautious with it. Because if you're a professional footballer at this time of the year, I always say this, it's when we get to the time of the year when you see a lot of journalists and a lot of media outlets do the so-and-so is out for the rest of the season kind of vibe. And you go, what? The rest of the season? What really? And then you go, oh, that's not too actually that long away. You'll see that a lot in sort of April. You know, April time, he's out for the rest of the season. You go, how long's the rest of the season? It's about 6 weeks. You go, oh. And of course, with the World Cup on the horizon, if players do get an injury now or in the next couple of weeks or months, this is when the debate starts propping up again of, you know, of club versus country, doesn't it? Because, you know, you get towards the end of the season, players start being a little bit extra cautious. You start getting the, you start getting the players that suddenly have a bit of a virus or a bit of a cold or a bit of the flu or just feeling a bit of a tight calf. And if you do have a long-term injury like de Ligt, it's a case of, right, I should be back by March, but I'm not taking any risks. I'm not taking any risks because I want to be playing or at least be part of that World Cup squad in the summer. Now, whether or not de Ligt, you know, would be starting games for the Netherlands, probably not. I mean, was it like last year? I think it's only fairly recently he's got back into the squad, isn't it? Perhaps because he was out of it for a little bit. Now he's getting his way back in, but now with the injury. So he would probably see that his chances of playing in the summer are on a bit of a knife edge. So he's probably right to take it slowly. And also, if this is an injury that initially wasn't thought to be too serious, and then it keeps you out of action for 2 or 3 months. That's a serious injury, you know. And it once again, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? It does make you wonder about just what was going on with sort of the initial diagnosis of that injury. How can something that was seen initially as, something quite minor, it's a minor knock, lead to something that keeps you out of action for 3 months? Maybe it's a question for Dr. Andre. We don't have him here at the moment. I could do the impression. The thing is, when it comes to the spinal cord or your lower back vertebrae, it's a very delicate thing. And sometimes until you actually go under the knife and go under the anesthetic and you actually have the operation, you can't really tell the damage that's actually in there at the time until you have, at the very least, an MRI or something along those lines, that you can't really see what's going on in there. And until then, it's anybody's guess. Sometimes that's what science is. Sometimes science is theories until theories are disproven. And it's the same for medical science. So that's probably the case for De Ligt. That's probably not bad. That's probably pretty close with De Ligt. Thank you, Dr. Andre, for joining us this morning. No problem. So maybe it's a case of that, as Matt says, maybe it's similar to Rasmus and Amrabat's back injuries when they joined, but his seems to be more stubborn. Yeah, Højlund's one, when he joined, it was like a precursor to something. They saw almost like a hot spot on his back and said, that's a precursor that can turn into, I think it was a stress fracture or something along those lines. And effectively, what they had to do is just wait, is just wait and not have, a lot of, contact sport and this, that, and the other, and just see how it healed. And maybe that's the same thing with this De Ligt one, in that there's not much they can do apart from just wait for it to heal. And maybe it's a case of, usually these things heal in X amount of time, but this one didn't. Why didn't it? We don't know. We don't know. It's just slowly getting there, but it's taken longer than we thought. Maybe it is just a case of that, is that there's not really actually a lot of treatment that they can do. They've just got to wait for it to heal, and people heal faster than others, perhaps. Maybe that's the case. But when it does come to De Ligt and him being back available and what have you, the question is, when he's fully fit, does he start immediately? Yes or no? Why? I put that in the super chat goal this morning. And let me know your thoughts about it. I mean, naturally, you would say he gets eased back into the team because you don't want to have a reoccurrence of the injury. But this is kind of what I was pointing out to Flex yesterday. We were talking about what we need in the summer, and obviously there's so much focus, isn't there, on need midfielders, need one, probably two midfielders. Casemiro's going, and we need a midfielder anyway. Got a partner Cobby, need more strength and depth. We haven't needed the big squad this season because we're only playing one game a week and we went out the cups the first time of asking. Next season, we're hoping that's going to be different, aren't we? Hoping we're going to be in the Champions League and going further in those cup competitions, and also being more sustainably in those European positions. We don't want to have a drop-off. I spoke about that last night on the red carpet about what's the goal for next season. And I said, well, I don't really know what that is. This season hasn't finished yet, but it would be consistency. Don't have the huge drop-off that we tend to have when we do qualify for the Champions League. The next season, it all goes to shit. We've got to continue that on. So we know we're looking for a midfielder, possibly two. We know we're looking for, a left-sided winger, because if we are going to stick with a 4-2-3-1, Dorgu looks like he's that player on the left, but also he's young. Matheus Cunha, it's about trying to find the right space for him. But again, we need strength and depth. So you're looking at that. But for me, I really do think more needs to be said about a focus on our back four, because I look at it and I go, well, that back four is injury prone, been at United a while, and I think there's a ceiling with them. I don't know how high you can go with them. Look at our back four at the moment. It's Diogo Dalot. We can and must do better than him. He'd done all right recently, but in the last game against West Ham, we saw normal Dalot resume normal service. I don't think he's going to go. And I'm not opposed to Dalot being like a backup player or anything like that, because by all accounts, well liked and, good leader, speaks a lot of languages, this, that, and the other, knits the team together, off the pitch in the dressing room, fine. As a backup, cool. But as you're starting right back at Manchester United, there are a lot of better right backs than I think Nadal in the league. So you'd be looking at that. Your centre backs, I really do think there is a conversation to be had about centre backs at Man United, because look at the options that we've got. We've got Leacher, who, if and when he's fit, look at what he adds to the team. We've seen it since he returned this season. He's been really, really strong. But I think we'd all be lying, wouldn't we, if we said, well, we're waiting to see how long he can stay fit for, because he's had massive injuries, huge injuries. And I know I mentioned this yesterday too. I said about the injury proneness of him, and shout out to Kenny, because Kenny called it a long time ago with Leacher. Granted, his injuries haven't been those kind of Mason Mount injuries, or I've pulled my calf, or I've done my hamstring, or my quad, or my groin. Leachers are like big injuries, aren't they? Done his knee a couple of times, done his foot, which kept him out for like a year because he had to have multiple surgeries on it. So it's not necessarily those sort of muscular injuries you worry with Leacher. It's more the damage that's already been done to him. He's had a lot. He's had a lot to deal with in the 3 or 4 years he's been at Manchester United. Some really, really big injuries, and there would be a concern about that. It being a reoccurrence of that or what have you. Then you've got Harry Maguire, who it was really, really interesting yesterday when we spoke about Maguire, the discrepancy between different platforms actually and the response to that. So we asked the question yesterday, deal or no deal with Harry Maguire? Should he be given a new deal? Should he not be given a deal?
At Red Bear and 2,455 super chatted £5. SJR comments irritate me. People that just say he's not wrong, it's just illegal immigrants are naive. Don't see a future with him as owner.
Well, I think I said my piece last week with the Ratcliffe comments. There's no need to rehash it. But like I said, I thought it was just ridiculous what he said, and incredibly hypocritical and dangerous. I think, like you said, like I said last week, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having a debate and a talk on those serious topics. In fact, I think that's quite healthy. I think if when subjects like that are brought up and immediately turns into a shouting match, you don't get anything done. Nothing gets done. Nothing gets fixed. If anything, things just get more polarized. But they're sensitive topics by very nature, because they're people's lives, and quite literally. And you have to choose your words and your language very, very carefully. And he didn't. He did broad strokes, and that's dangerous. It's divisive rhetoric, and we saw it. We saw it because anyone that was calling him out on it then got flooded with responses that were not people that weren't really willing to engage in discussion. It just turned into slurs and sort of racism. Let's be honest. That's what it did. I even myself experienced it, going, this is out of order, dangerous, and it just got flooded with, fuck off and this, that, and the other. And that's crazy. That's not the way to go. And of course, he's allowed to share his opinion, but also it's the Spider-Man phrase, isn't it? With great power comes great responsibility. I have to be careful with what I say, because I'm on a platform that's got a lot of reach. So if I've got to be careful, think about how careful Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got to be, right? He's Britain's wealthiest man. He's the minority owner of Manchester United. He's in control of sporting operations. He's in charge of and owns one of the biggest petrochemical companies in the world, and has lots of different other businesses. His voice travels further than others. Just look at the headlines it made. That's because of how powerful his voice is. So with that power comes the responsibility of get your facts right, get your data right, and make sure you pick and choose your words carefully. There's no criticism of sharing an opinion, but there is criticism of the language you use, the words you use, and also the data not being accurate. And that was my big thing about it. I think he realized that very, very quickly, hence his, empty apology. But like I said, that was just my viewpoint on it. But yes, going back to and appreciate the super chat, going back to the the chat about defenders. Obviously, like I said, Leacher, he's had his injuries. Maguire, that was what I was talking about. The discrepancy between platforms yesterday I'm of the mindset that I don't think Maguire should get a new deal. I just feel like, when chapters come to an end, it's over, and we can use that money, invest it into not a young centre-back of the age of like Aiden Heaven or Lenny Yoro. I'm not talking a 20, 21-year-old. I'm thinking of a sort of, 25, 26, 27-year-old, something along those lines, that you can save with that money and just move on. And also, look, he's got his injury problems this season. He's been out of action quite a bit. And even when he has been playing, they've been protecting him because of his injury issues. So I just feel like the time's kind of right. And what was interesting is that in the comments on YouTube yesterday, it was filled with no. And on other
at
platforms, it was
Brown
yes.
Amory 3,509 super chatted £5. Exactly, Owen, spot on. You have use words and data right before you speak, especially if you're one of the world's biggest sport team who's so multicultured.
Exactly. That was again, that's why it was just such a ridiculous thing to say from him. Not only because of his own hypocrisies of himself being a migrant, a tax migrant in Monaco, but also he's one of the most well-known men in Britain, globally. And when he got involved with Manchester United, his reach only got bigger than it was. So you've got to be careful. And you like it was pointed out, he employs people that are migrants or even people that, have got to where they are in life because their family had to go through, hardships or had to flee war-torn countries or what have you and enter countries, maybe not necessarily legally, but eventually they got to where they were fully integrated and what have you. And they're proud of where they came from and they're proud of their struggle, and they want to make sure that people don't have the same struggles too. So you got to be really, really careful, really, really careful with that. And at the same time, not stifle debate. I don't think it should be something where if it does get brought up, it's just shut down as you can't talk about that, because if you do, you're being discriminatory. But if it's not started, I don't think in good faith, that's where it goes down this sort of garden path of, ridiculousness. That's why you've got once it like anything, once it just devolves into a shouting match with slurs and, no real compassion, that's when you lose me. That's when you lose me, because, it doesn't, things can be solved by talking and discourse and civility and not anger, hate and sort of segregation. It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't, sometimes it's, it's the way that people do it to get attention, but there isn't any need. Unfortunately, I suppose that's where things are. And immediately you saw sort of the fear from Ratcliffe, because all of these people that he's been trying to win over, sort of politically, behind the scenes for the best part of 18 months, like the Prime Minister or like Andy Burnham and this, that, and the other, all sort of said, well, why would we want to work with you to build this stadium that you want? Why would we do that if you're going to be saying things like that? So immediately that's why he shit himself. So, which again, just goes to show that what a stupid thing it was. And it's just, like I said, they won't get too deep into it again, but it was just ridiculous. So yes, with Maguire, it was split opinion. I'm of the opinion, don't keep him, move him on. I know that there's the thing of, reduced wages because he's on like 190K a week, something along those lines. He'd have to be on reduced wages. And when I say reduced, I'd want him to be on like 100 or something. I don't know if he'd take that, but maybe he would. So you've got that. And then who have your other centre-back options? You've got De Ligt, maybe necessarily with injuries. You've got Maguire, age, injuries. You've got Leacher, injuries. And then your other two options, you've got Lenny Yoro, who's still really young. That's the other part of Yori you have to consider. His confidence has been up and down. Did really well when he came on against West Ham. And actually, I think it almost kind of suited him a little bit because Lenny Yoro, I think, is at his best in those kind of recovery situations. Those recovery situations, because he's got pace and he's got those long legs and he can do those last-ditch slide tackles. And we saw really, I think, a lot of quality and crucial blocks and interceptions and defending against West Ham. And hopefully that will be really good for his confidence. He needed something like that. But still, I don't think now's the time. Or next season rather. I don't think that's the time to be like, right, Lenny, Maguire's gone. You're starting every single week. Boom, you're in. Because it's still like, wow, he's still a young guy, and it's still, I think, we have to be in a position where we're not. We need to learn from how we've sort of dealt with young players in the past. I know Man United's built on class of '92, young players coming in, this, that, and the other, but we know the expectation, we know the burden, we know the intensity that it can get, from fans, from the media, from everything. Particularly if you're not playing well. So we need to still be in a position where Lenny Yoro can come out the team for 5-6 games and still be okay. So, I still don't know if we're in that position to be like, right, Lenny, you're the starting centre-back, and Aiden Heaven, same thing. So I still think we need another centre-back. We do. We need another centre-back. And I think that situation is going to really present itself over the next couple of seasons. Someone said there in the chat, Maguire is the least injury prone defender we have. Not this season, not this season. He's been injured a couple of times this season, right? He's missed 10 games this season. Last season, actually, I'll scroll down to here. How many games did he miss? Right, he's missed 10 games this season. Last season, he missed 9 games, close to 10 games. Season before that, 16 games. So it's been a thing. It's been a thing for the last couple of seasons. He's getting older, and we have to be really cautious, I think, with this sort of recency bias. Okay, he's coming to the team now. Played a couple of good games. So, we got to be thinking a few steps ahead here, and we can't be tied down with sentiment. And that's why I'm glad, and I think it was actually the smart move and the right move by Manchester United and Casemiro to get that announcement that he was leaving out there ahead of time. Because imagine that announcement hadn't been put out there that Casemiro was leaving at the end of the season. The debates we would be having, and actually the discussions we would be having about him, should he stay? We've got to keep him. We've got to keep him. We've got to keep Cass. We've got to find a way to make it work. Could he take a pay cut? Will he take a pay cut? I know he's on like 300 or 350, but we can figure it out. Let's Cassie can stay. Yeah, he can stay. Decision's already been made for us. We don't even have to tie ourselves up in knots about it. We don't even have to think about it. It's not even up for discussion. It's done. And I suppose with Maguire, it's the opposite, right? The longer that it goes on that, he's not signed a new contract, or it's not announced that he's going to be leaving, it's just going to be more speculation about him, about whether or not he's going to stay, whether he's going to leave. And as I've said many a times, we as Man United fans, we cannot be trusted. We cannot be we can't be trusted to remove sentiment from the equation and emotion and feelings from the equation. We're not very good at it, myself included. So if it was me, I would still say no for Maguire and look to get a centre back in the summer. But I'm also very conscious that there's a lot of work to do and not a lot of time. This isn't a normal summer, is it? That's the problem too. This isn't a normal summer. We've got on top of, we need to find a head coach first. So, and they're going to allegedly figure that out at the end of the season. So that might take a couple of weeks, maybe. If the Erik ten Hag post-season review was anything to go by, that was a couple of weeks, wasn't it? After you won the FA Cup? Well, it might have been more than that, 2 or 3 weeks. When they were interviewing all the people, and then they went and met him in, where was he? Ibiza or something. So that could take a few weeks. And then you go into, okay, then you figure out who you're going to be going after. And if you're going after any of those players or any of those coaches, they're probably all focused on the World Cup unless they're not involved. So that leads you until sort of after what's that, about July time, end of July. There's not a lot of time, and it might actually be the worst summer to be able to try and do all of this work. So some of these decisions need to be done before the end of the season. I know that United said they're not going to rush with the coach and they're not going to get too weighed down in the results, but I think we need to be in a situation, and maybe it depends on where we're in the table and if we're top four secured and this, that, and the other. But maybe there is a scenario where it's like, look, we kind of need to know who the head coach is going to be, in sort of May time, April, May. We kind of need to know because we need to plan. We need to plan. We need to execute that plan. And coach needs to be involved a little bit, not loads, but needs to be involved in a little bit, and we need to get those transfer targets. We need to get those players. Because, like I said, what we can't afford to do is what we've done historically over the last decade plus, which is get into the Champions League, have a good season, and then the next season it's a massive drop-off. Look at even people like Newcastle. Whenever they've qualified for the Champions League, the next season they've been the absolute shits because they can't handle it. And they're not the same. And we can't fall into that territory. So we need to be on it. We need to be on it with recruitment. We need to be on it with who we're going to get as our head coach. And we also need to be ruthless with the players that we move on. And maybe Maguire's in that list. And maybe the concerns about De Ligt, possibly. Maybe there's something to consider as well. Not that he's going to go anywhere in the summer or anything like that. Just to dispel some fake news that was going around yesterday. I kind of touched on it in the red carpet, but we didn't dwell on it too much because it was just the biggest bunch of horse shit. Which was basically Jurgen Klopp's agent came out and he did an interview with, was it Transfer Market? I think it was, basically saying that after Klopp left Liverpool, he got a couple of approaches. He said, quote, even Chelsea and Manchester United inquired, although Jurgen had clearly stated he would not coach any other club in England. These inquiries keep coming. He's extremely happy with what he's achieved, and it's still wonderful. He'll go down in history as one of the few coaches who has only managed 3 clubs and was never fired. And immediately, right, immediately, United fans looked at this and went, what a crock of horse shit. I mean, really. Manchester, why would Manchester United even bother to approach Jurgen Klopp, the former Liverpool manager? It wouldn't happen, would it? Not in today's day and age. No, not because Jurgen Klopp's a bad manager or a bad coach, but it's pointless. It's a non-starter, isn't it? You would just no. Anyway, according to Sky Sports, Manchester United have denied contacting Jurgen Klopp's agent after claims the club inquired following his exit from Liverpool. Yeah, well, of course. You know what I mean? Of course. It's not even that much of a story, is it? Let's be completely honest. As was this, and I don't really know what's like this. Fabrizio Romano going, links between Manchester United and Alexis McAllister are untrue. Well, of course they are. Of course they are. When was the last time a player played for both Liverpool and Man United? Isn't it like 50 years ago or something, right? Or a transfer between the two clubs? Paul Ince did it. What was the last transfer? What was the last transfer between Liverpool and Manchester United? Let's have a look. Here we go. The last direct transfer between Liverpool and Man United was back in 1964 when the Reds signed forward Phil Chisnell for £25,000. Even further back was the last player to join Man United from Liverpool. So no one's joined Man United from Liverpool since 1937. That was Ted Savage for £1,500, right? Yeah. So it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, there have been players that have played for both indirectly, like people are saying in the chat, Michael Owen, Paul Ince, but they didn't go direct. I don't know why people are saying Gabriel Hense, because he never played for Liverpool. It was part of a thing that was, at the time, was that allegedly he wanted to go to Liverpool, and Man United were like, absolutely no fucking way. So he ended up going to Real Madrid, I think, instead. But yes, yeah. So no, it's so not a story. It's so not a story at all, is it? If it was something like, oh, his contract's expiring in the summer, like, and all that, and when is Alexis McAllister contract? He only just joined a couple of years ago. until 2028. Yeah, if it was a thing like he's going to be a free agent in the summer, then I would go, oh, maybe, I guess I can maybe see that one, possibly. But also as well, when Fabrizio says those links between Man United and Alexis McAllister is true, I didn't even know there were links, to be honest with you. That's like me going, the links between myself and, pick someone. The links between myself and Margot Robbie, they're untrue. I didn't even know there were links, Now, come on, Owen. She's been, sliding into your DMs. Well, no. Those links are untrue. Those links they're not real at the moment. So I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I've heard the song. What song are you talking about? This one.
Minibite man. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I want the real yard man, a united view.
Well, it does explain a lot then, doesn't it? That does explain that. I mean, that's irresistible. That is irresistible, to be honest, isn't it? So maybe that does kind of line up. Maybe. It's fine. It's fine. This one, again, this isn't true. Those links are not true. So no. Manchester United are not going after Alexis McAllister. And no, Manchester United did not approach Jurgen Klopp after he left Liverpool. All right? No chance. No chance. I saw this, and be sure to smash a like on the like button. Where are we at in terms of the likes this morning? We're not even at 150. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Just a quick one as well. I wanted to touch on this because I know this will annoy some people. Some people. I saw this from Stephen Ralston from the... does he still work for Manchester Evening News? Yes. Who said, Bruno Fernandes... Is Bruno Fernandes currently the best player in the Premier League? He has the most assists in the division, that being 12, and he has created more chances than any player in Europe's top 5 leagues. He must have an outstanding claims for that title. I want to know what you guys think about this in the chat. Because this isn't, I know you get the whole UV agenda. Look at this glazing Bruno again. It's turned into Bruno view. Stop trying to force the Bruno agenda. Look, this is being written. This is being written, put out there by the Manchester Evening News, Stephen Ralston. He's asking the question: is Bruno Fernandes currently, right now, the best player in the Premier League? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. He's certainly one of the most informed players in the Prem. I don't think you can argue about that. He's right up there this season. And he said, when you're talking about most assists in the division, and you can't even do the whole Fernandes thing. These are assists. These are creating goals. And honestly, he should probably have more this season with chances that we have missed, because look, the next part, he's created more chances than any other player in Europe's top 5 leagues. In Europe's top 5 leagues, nobody's creating more than he is. That is ridiculous. And for half of the season, he wasn't even in his best position. He was involved in a deeper position, and he was still putting up those numbers. Now he's back into his best position in the 10 role. Those numbers are going to skyrocket. So I tell you what, I mean, who are the most informed players this season? That is a good question. Because the season's been so indifferent, hasn't it? With who's like the best player this season? Like who would get PFA Player of the Year or something like that? That is a good question. Yeah, I think maybe like Haaland, Gabriel, they'd be up there maybe this season. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to go, yeah. Probably on form at the moment. The numbers kind of speak for themselves, don't they? Really? If he's not top, it's easily top 3 as of right now, I think, in the Premier League season. Easily.
At Alilite 2,754 super chatted £5. I'm not afraid to have the Bruno debate, but even I'll say he's definitely up there. What irritates me is those who refuse to debate him. GGMUGF.
Goof. Big up Orderly. Yeah, that's what is weird with the Bruno one. Like, you're right. And it goes back to sort of just, I've picked a viewpoint. I'm not willing to concede any ground on it. Which is to me always a bit odd, because when you look at Bruno, the sort of the idea or narrative that, that some people offer, where they'll go, he offers nothing to the team, he's a net negative. What was it? Ricky was saying, last season without Bruno, we'd have finished higher than 15th. You just go, well, you're only saying that just because for some reason, you don't want to concede like a little bit of ground. You don't want to concede a little bit of ground that actually he might actually be a positive to the team, or he might actually offer something to the team. Like the narrative that Bruno offers nothing, and when he's removed from this team, sort of Man United are going to sort of skyrocket back to the Fergie teams of the 90s and the 2000s is frankly just laughable, isn't it? Let's be honest. This idea that you take Bruno out, suddenly Manchester United are like Premier League contenders and we're battering teams 4 or 5-0. That is just ridiculous. That is such a bizarre viewpoint, in my opinion. Has he got his faults? Absolutely. I think an example of that was against West Ham, right? Was against West Ham, whereby if he's having an off day, because so much does go through Bruno, if he's a ghost, then the whole team tends to ghost, that is a problem. That is a concern. I'm totally with that. I get it. And there needs to be less of this over-reliance, shall we say, on Bruno Fernandes. Fair. But I'd much rather have him in my team than not have him in my team. And I've got stick in the past for saying that, for me, Bruno gets in any team in world football, and people scoff at that. Oh, what? Bruno is going to get in Real Madrid's team, is getting Barcelona's team. Yeah, he would. Like genuinely, he would. Why? Because of those numbers. Because of those numbers right there. That's why he would get in. Because he delivers numbers. Regardless of what position he's in, as is evidenced this season, he'd get numbers. Can you imagine him playing in La Liga or him playing in Liga? Holy shit.
At Red Bear and 2,455 super chatted £5. Bruno annoyed me in the past by misplacing passes and such, and I was one of the ones that thought we would play better without, but I was speaking shit.
Well, fair play, Red Baron, for acknowledging your shit speaking. But yeah, I don't really. Well, I do get it. For some reason, we do have an odd fascination as a fan base to, if people are doing well, it's only a short amount of time before they end up getting sort of hated or they end up getting criticized. I don't really get it, but it just is one of those strange things. If you're good, we love you. And then even if you are still good, we'll start having a go at you, because we expect you to be perfect from then on. It's an odd one. It's again a bit of an odd one. But again, I would say that I would go Bruno. There was a thing with Harry Kane recently, right? Harry Kane, what's the thing he got to 5? Was it 500 goals? He's got to something like that. Yeah, there you go. Harry Kane's reached 500 goals, and obviously, since he's gone to Bayern, let's have a look at his Bayern Munich stats as well, actually, because they're just fucking outrageous. they're just outrageous. And you're telling me that if Bruno went to the Bundesliga, right? Bruno wouldn't have ridiculous numbers, and Harry Kane's numbers wouldn't improve, by the way, as well. Look, it's Harry Kane. First season, this is Bundesliga, right? Just Bundesliga. 32 games, 36 goals. 31 games, 26 goals. This season, 22 matches, 26 goals. And remember, right? When we were getting linked with Harry Kane, there were some that were going, yeah, but salon value. Where's the salon value, Harry Kane? Who gives a fuck about salon value when you're buying Harry Kane, right? Or the other one was, yeah, but what's he won? He played for Spurs his whole career. Of course he's won nothing. And he's English, so of course he's won nothing at international level, right? Of course. He's not won anything. And that was everyone. He's too old, isn't he? Yeah, he's too old. All right, we'll go get Rasmus Højlund instead. That worked out. That worked out well for us. Now, whether or not it was even possible for us to get Harry Kane, that's a separate conversation, right? Daniel Levy, would he have been willing to sell to a Premier League club? You could have tested the resolve a little bit. I don't know. But this is when I talk about sometimes United fans we will tie ourselves in knots to convince ourselves that players aren't good when they are. And Harry Kane was a great example of this, of just, no, he wouldn't do well at Man United. All right. And you look at those numbers there, right? And you're telling me if Bruno went to the Bundesliga and played for Bayern Munich, he would be putting up ridiculous numbers as well. And even if his goals, he didn't get as many goals because he's playing in a team with Harry Kane, you think if he plays in a team with Harry Kane, with the amount of, again, I'll go back to the stat here. Bruno this season has created more chances than any player in Europe's top 5 leagues, right? Top 5 leagues. Bruno's created more chances. If you paired him up with Harry Kane, right, in the Bundesliga, those numbers of like assists or chances created by Bruno would be absolutely unbelievable. They'd be on another level. So this is what I say with Bruno. We won't realize what we've got until we don't have it anymore. When he goes to the Bundesliga, or if he goes to La Liga, and pairs up with one of these top elite strikers or these top elite teams, the best of the best, holy Christmas. It's going to be woof. And remember as well, we do revisionism and look through rose-tinted glasses at rubbish players. We do it for people like Fred and go, I tell you what, I wish we had Fred back. Could you imagine what would happen with Bruno left? Oh my God. There's still revisionism on Ruben Amorim and his time at Man United. It wasn't all that bad. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? So this is why I say Bruno could get in any team, and when it comes to, is he, the best player in the Premier League right now? I think he's absolutely in that conversation. How could he not be? With that kind of form that he's in at the moment, how could he not be? And for those that will say, we finished 15th as the captain under Bruno, which is for me again just a silly argument. Then all right, let's point to other things that Bruno's done. Then we won an FA Cup under Bruno. Bruno was involved in the games where we beat the 2 best teams in the Prem. Okay, they're just as relevant and just as completely irrelevant as that initial point. So I think for me he's top. Joseph says here, Bruno was our best player last season under Amorim. We finished 15th, but not this season. Harry Kane is right now the best player in Europe this season. Or if Bruno isn't our best player this season, then who is our best player this season? Realistically, who's our best player this season? Because again, I'll get the numbers speak for themselves. If you're going to say who are our best player this season in terms of consistent, Casemiro, all right, fair, maybe. Between Casemiro and Bruno, maybe. I still would lean maybe towards Bruno more in terms of that. But fair. Bruno. Casemiro, you could say maybe in terms of influence, as in when he gets taken off the pitch, we lose control of the game. But what's funny as well with the recent sort of Casemiro praise is I'm still very, very sure that at points this season there have been once again those things of Cass, legs are gone, mate. Legs are gone. Legs are gone. You just Cass, no. And again, it's the recent form that's like, no, he's actually really, really good again. So. And again, it's still the right decision for him to go at the end of the season. That's why I go back to those responses there, because I would agree with you that he's had a really good season, but that right there is exactly why I'm happy that the announcement's already been made that Casemiro is leaving, because he is having a good season. If that decision hadn't come out that he was leaving at the end of the season, there would be absolutely at the moment, I don't care. Just get him for another year. Get him for another year. Get him for another 2 years. And it's just over. I'd much rather end on a positive note. I'd much rather end on a positive note for him, and and have it in a situation where he does end with a brilliant season. We go, that's a way to go out, as opposed to, what we've seen with a lot of players when their contracts expire at United, where they have the last game, they wave goodbye to the fans and they applaud, and we go, yeah, it was a nice send-off, but they should have been gone a couple of years ago. Now's the right time for Cass, isn't it? Now's the right time for him to call it a day at United, as opposed to let's get him for another couple of years, and then in 2 years' time we go, should have been a couple of years ago. We should have been a couple of years ago, probably. I remember it was like that for people like I remember Mata, when Mata left on a free, it was but it could have been a couple of years ago. Lingard, it should have been a couple of years ago though, shouldn't it? Matic, it could have been a couple of years ago. He should have gone. There's always it's difficult to get the right time, but I think once it presents itself like that, we need to go, okay, that now's the right time. Good season, go right off into the sunset, and go in that direction. I think that's the right thing to do. So yes, there you go, folks. That's the morning view for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Appreciate everyone for getting involved this morning. What's on tap for the rest of the day? We've got Flex and KG show. It's Tuesday, so Flex and KG show at 7 p.m. I'm sure they'll have a lot to discuss. It's Champions League tonight, isn't it? God, honestly, Man United, they have to get European football next season. Honestly, do you know how just weird the last few days have been? Like, there's football on, FA Cup and Champions League and what have you tonight. I don't know about you. I used to be a bit different, but now I'm not so much. If it's not Man United, I really struggle to bring myself to watch. I haven't really been paying that much attention to the FA Cup at the weekend, also because the fixtures were pretty shit, weren't they? But even it's the same with I did see that the women in their result the other day was 3-0, wasn't it? I think it was 3-0. But yeah, in the Champions League tonight, I just can't really bring myself to kind of watch it. And this sort of void that's there, isn't it? There's this void of time. We've got to wait till Monday still to play against Everton. So next season, please, United, please. I want to be back to complaining, going, it's every 3 days. Players need some rest, or I haven't even digested the last result, this, that, and the other. I want to be back to that instead of just doing nothing, twiddling our thumbs, going, next season. No, I want to be playing every 3 or 4 games. All right. And last season we were playing consistently because we've had it. Think how bad we've had it. Yeah. Last season we were playing every 3 days or what have you, playing all the time. The problem is we just lost all the time. So it was just constant. It was constant punishment, wasn't it? Oh, we're playing again today. Oh, we're going to lose. Right now we're like, we're playing once a week, but at the same time, and we're winning, but it's so long. We've got to wait like, a week until we win. Under Ruben, once we got our win, that was it for the month. We had to wait a month, and we were playing games in that time as well. So next season, please, Man United, be in more competitions, and also don't shit the bed. Actually win some games as well. That's the hope. That's the dream. It's the dream for Manchester United. So yes, there you go. As I mentioned, Flex and KG show coming up at 7 p.m. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. It's Pancake Day as well. Shrove Tuesday. So actually, if you are watching this and you've stayed till the end, big up to everyone that stayed till the end. I appreciate you. In the comment section, I want you to fill it up with what your pancake combination is. Is it sugar? Is it golden syrup? Is it, was it sugar and lemon? Is it Nutella? Is it something else? Do you not even have them? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm out of here. Peace.